features or characteristics you can see here for a particular project. It has a specific objective and fixed boundary. Uh, this is very evident that when you are starting a project, you have to fix the boundary, exactly what you are going to do in that. Otherwise, it will go on and on. So you have to fix a boundary, you have a limit, and of course, that is called the scope of a project. We'll come to that later. So that's called scope of a project, or in fact, the boundary. So at the beginning itself, the project planners will have a plan that, okay, in this project, only these things are the deliverables. So we'll stop at that point, not beyond that. It is very essential. Otherwise, there may be some problems in terms of schedule, problems in terms of budget. So you have to fix it, that what exactly is the objective of the project. So that is one of the characteristics. It has specific objective, so fixed boundary, right? Well-defined collection of jobs. So to fulfill that particular objective, if we'll break it down, all those, deliverables of that project, you will find that it consists of some collections of jobs. For example, building a house, if that is a project, and if we'll break it down, you'll find digging the foundation is one activity or one job. Then building the walls, then maybe RCC structures, then maybe the fittings and the plastering, the whitewashing. So you can break it down to several activities or jobs. It is applicable to any kind of project, be it IT project or infrastructure project. So it has some well-defined collection of jobs, right? Again, if we'll go back to the example I gave you of your school time, suppose building a project for your school, so you can break it down, and you are in fact sharing among the group mates that this is the job you will do, this is the job you will do. Then we'll combine and you'll get the final result. So it is well defined. So generally non-repetitive one-time effort. It's not generally, it is always. See, all the projects are unique in nature, as I'm saying. Something like fingerprints, very unique, each and every project. So it is non-repetitive. So once it is repetitive, it's not a project, as I'm saying, it becomes a process or a program. So it is a one-time effort, and you cannot have two projects of exactly same, of course. Maybe on the first look, you will see that, okay, building a house, suppose there are two projects of building a house, they may look as similar, but if you look in detail, there are a lot of differences. The area of the plot, the kind of specifications, the designs, the requirements, the materials, so everything varies. The budget. So each and every project is unique in that sense. It has a specific time constraint. Okay, this is also another very important characteristics of a project. Maybe in your mind that why there is a time constraint for a project. This is required for a project. If you are bringing that to the purview of a project, then definitely it has some time constraint. But if we look at your own projects, suppose at individual level, we may have some projects. Maybe the time frame or the kind of time resolution you are making, you may not fulfill it. But in practice, in all at the professional front, the commercial projects, they will have a time constraints. It's not that you will just work on it as per your wish. It is not permitted in that way, because there are clients, there are companies who are paying for that, so they will fix a time frame for that. So we'll discuss that later on. But to be theoretically correct project definition, it should be have some specific time constraint, means a definite start and end time. Okay, it has a specific cost constraint. Similar to time, the budget is also predefined, right? For each and every project, there is a fixed budget that will be given at the beginning of that project plan, that, okay, for this project, this is your budget. So each and every action or activities will be guided by that, right? Suppose I'm saying building up a house is a project, then maybe assume that for one project you have 1 crore rupees, and for another project, means a house, you have say 50 crore rupees. That is the budget. So you can understand, depending on the budget, your kind of selection of technology, selection of materials, everything will vary, right? So it has a cost constraint. So depending on the cost, you have to plan and you have to execute the project. So there is a cost constraint, means it's not like that you will spend whatever you like. Maybe that can be your personal project, which may not be exactly fall into project category. If you don't, they definitely will have a cost constraint, and the project manager has to fulfill that. Okay, this next point I already talked, it consumes resources, right? You know, there are various resources as like 4Ms I'm talking, like it consumes the manpower resource, material resource, machines, money. So typically all the projects must consume these resources. Maybe it will vary depending on the nature of the project. Some project may consume more manpower. They are called labor intensive projects. Some projects may consume more materials, right? Like your maybe infrastructure projects and things like that. But they will consume some resources. You may not have one example of you for a project which is not consuming any resource. It's not at all possible. Okay, it is unique in nature. I already discussed it. Jobs interrelated through precedence. So the meaning of this characteristics is that, again, come back to the example of building up a house as a project. So if we'll break it down into various activities or jobs, you can find they have some precedence relationships. For example, you cannot build the walls until and unless the foundation work is done. Similarly, you cannot go for electrical fittings until and unless the walls are complete. So there is some kind of precedence relationships you have to follow. The same thing is applied to any project you talk about, right? Be it a breeze, be it an IT software project. So there is some precedence. First you have to program this one, then you will develop that module, then you will integrate it, something like that. So each and every project can be broken down into small packets of works or activities or jobs, and they are interrelated. There is some precedence relationships. In fact, these precedence relationships will be used in the topic called scheduling, right, which is in the last module of your subject. So there you will find how these precedence relations are becoming important. Last point in this slide is it is associated with change and therefore carry considerable risk. This is also very interesting. When you are planning a project, actually you are projecting towards the future, right? So all your plans are happening at the present day, and your project will be executed in future. That is the way, right? So when you are starting a project, first you have to do certain activities which are like planning activities. So at the planning stage, you are planning the budget, you are planning the schedule, means the time frame, and everything for that project, which is going to happen in future. But as you know, future is uncertain. So there is many likelihood that whatever plans you have made according to the budget or the time frame maybe get affected because of risks, right? Because of some kind of disruption. So you just imagine that before this pandemic time, there may be many big projects are going on normally. But what happened to them after this pandemic? If you'll just explore a bit, you'll find there are so many pathetic situations for various projects because of this unforeseen kind of risk or uncertainty. So it is always associated with each and every project that there will be something will happen which you have not planned for. So project is subjected to this kind of considerable risks. This is also another characteristics of project. So I hope you have got some idea about what a typical project have features like, characteristics like. Now let us talk about some examples of projects so that you'll get a good idea that what exactly is a project and how it is different than the processes or the programs I'm talking about. Okay, so variety of projects. Again, using different criteria or different bases, we can classify the projects like project at personal level, project in local neighborhood, like that, right? Just depending on some criteria. Project at personal level, as you can see, suppose you are planning to write a book, right? So that can be project for you. It is at personal level, right? So again, of course, it may not fulfill all the characteristics as we have discussed now, but again, things like you may have set a time frame that okay, by this month I will complete this book, or I will consume these resources for this. It is consuming some resources. See, even if you are giving your time, that is manpower, or maybe you are taking the help of some other typist or somebody. So it is typically a project, but at personal level. Suppose you are planning some celebration, right? That on this date we will have a celebration. I'll throw a party, right? Maybe at a small level, but this is a project for you. So you will plan who will be the guests, where you will treat the people, what will the menu, what is your budget, and things like that. So organizing a function or any kind of I mean, at the personal level, so that is becoming a project. Preparing for an examination. Okay, I'm not much convinced about this point. So project in a local neighborhood, right? It is a little bit bigger than that. Suppose a college function, right? Running a political campaign for local body elections, right? Producing a small documentary film, right? So this is project in local neighborhood. And it's a little bit bigger than personal level, but a little bit bigger, right? Suppose you are organizing these college functions, right? Bito's chop, let us say, for example. It is a project for you, right? You know, people plan for that before, maybe 6 months or 8 months before the actual program. There are a lot of planning, a lot of budgets, a lot of, I mean, similar to a project, everything is planned. There will be organizational structure also, right? We'll discuss organizational structure in the second module, or maybe in this module. So there you'll find the same thing is applied to each and every project. So you imagine when you are planning an institute or college function, there is an organizational structure, right? So there is a hierarchy of power delegated to the juniors, and the responsibility and authority is distributed among all the people who are involved in it. Some the juniors are taking orders from seniors, right? That is the hierarchy, and maybe the seniors are listening to the faculty advisor or to the dean or some authority. So this way it works. Similarly, in actual projects also, there will be hierarchy, power hierarchy. Otherwise, there will be chaos. So maybe the designations will change, but it is very similar. There will be CEO, there will be project manager, there will be supervisors, there will be field managers. So the hierarchy is there. That is required to execute any kind of project. It is required. You just cannot give the responsibility of the project to say 100 people. You just cannot give that, okay, you are the 100 people's one group, you carry out the project. All the budget is available, everything is available. You are 100% as a group, and you all are equal. You all are equal, and you carry out the budget. You can have an experiment. You can see what is happening at the end of the day. Full chaos, full chaos. The reason is that to carry out any kind of project, it needs the sharing of responsibility as well as authority. If it is not there, if there is no clear line of hierarchy, there will be chaos, right? The 100 people will fight among themselves. Someone will say, this is my idea, this has to work, you have to listen to me, right? Some people will behave like that, and some people will say, okay, I will not work, what is there, I will not work, I will not take order from anyone. So things like that will come up. That's why organizational structure is required to carry out each and every project. We'll discuss that in whenever we'll come across organizational structure in project. So these are some varieties of project, as you can understand. A college function, running a political campaign. This is a very good example of a project, right? All the election campaigns comes under projects. Of course, nobody calls that as a project. See, suppose presently there are some elections are going on. So you can understand what is the thing which is working behind that, right? It is very similar to a project. There is fund, there is timeline, it is unique, right? It consumes a lot of resources, particularly manpower, because elections are mostly labor intensive projects. You need a lot of people to work for power procession and all these activities, right? So okay, producing a film is always a project. Producing a film, be it a documentary film or a big budget movie. Okay, the next category is organizational project. Under this category, you can see developing a new product or service, developing and marketing a new medicine, implementing a change in an organization, constructing a building, facility, highways, railways. So these are typical large scale projects you can understand. See, there are so many good examples of projects. Manufacturing a new machine is a project, but continuously manufacturing machines is not a project, remember. But manufacturing a new machine is a project. Why? Because to manufacture a new machine, you need a lot of R&D, you need a lot of product development, designs, right? Prototyping, 3D printing. Then you will go for the actual manufacturing. So before manufacturing any new product, means at this scale, as a machine or a vehicle, a lot of time and money is spent before that. That's called the product development, and that is and companies spend on that, right? So that is considered as a project. But once that machine is produced and continuously that process is repeated, it is no longer a project. Designing a new transportation system. Again, if it is new, then it is a project, because it will need a lot of planning, what transportation modes you will use, right? So the design of that is a project. Launching a new mobile phone for that company is a project, because these mobile companies, they may be working on some mobile phones products which we do not know. They are working on that for the last 6 months. They consider that as a project. They may have some code name for that product. They are working on it. The team is working on it. It is considered as a project. Money is spent on that, right? But when it is completed, the project is over. Other examples like building, facility, highways, railways, obviously they are projects. Implementing a change in an organization can be a project. So what is this? Suppose some organization is there, right? Big company is there, and they are finding that there are some productivity issues, right? They are not, giving the best productivity compared to their competitors. There is something lacking in their production, output, productivity. So they may take up this as a project, right? They may form a team, they may form a team of experts from maybe consultants, they will be included. So they will work on it. Again, it will have a time frame that within 1 month or 2 months, you sort out the problem, why there is productivity issue or quality issue or cost issue, anything, some organizational change, right? So this is a one-time effort, this is unique, this is temporary endeavor. So this is a project. This is not permanent feature. So this is a project. So bringing any change to the organization, and having some conscious effort for that and spending on that using resources is a project. Not necessary always the output of a project is a physical thing. We have discussed that in the first class. The deliverables of a project can be a physical product, it can be service, and it can be, what is the third one? Anyone? Can anyone remember the third output? One is product, the other is service. What was the third one? Very good, very good. Who said this? Rohan, Sahana. Good, good. That is the result. Okay, so result is something, as I said, suppose a new formula you came up for your, research, vaccine, some composition, or the organizational change. It is a result. It is a result example that you have brought some changes in the organization. You found the problem and you sorted it out. So that is a result. Okay. So these are some examples. Increasing production capacity by adding new manufacturing processes. Yes, it is a one-time effort. You want to increase your capacity. So expansion of your plant is a project. Okay, replacing old manufacturing process by a new one is also a project. Suppose you found that the technology you are using are becoming obsolete, right? You want to replace it with state-of-art technology. So that becomes a project. You will change it. You need planning, what technology you will bring, what equipments you will purchase, from where you will purchase, what is the budget, what is the time frame, right? All the plannings, where you will place them. So as a whole, this becomes a project. Although we have an impression that when something new is happening at a at a virgin land, that itself is a project. No, that is a project. Apart from that, there are many other activities which may look as regular things, but is a project. All right. So again, some classifications like national projects, global projects. It is depending on the scope and the scale at which it is working. For example, Aadhaar can be considered as one of the examples of national project, or maybe the vaccine drive that is happening. It is a national project, right? There is a fund, there is timeline, there is a consumption of resources, right? So this is a project and it is once in a while, it's not a regular affair. Preparation of annual budget. Look, preparation of the budget itself can be considered as a national project, because this finance ministry is working for the next budget from a long time back. They'll work on it. So there are a lot of manpower involved in it, right? So once they will complete it and they will present it, minister will present it in the parliament, that project is over. Launching a satellite, of course, it is a project. Very good example of a project. Similarly, at the global level also, if many countries are working for global warming, so that can be a global project. Environmental protection, space explorations by mutual cooperation among many countries can be global project. So it is depending on the scope and scale. So some project examples, right? Developing a vaccine, production of a new movie, construction of a river bridge, construction of a thermal power plant, running an election campaign, digitalization of a bank. This is a project. Suppose a bank is existing, right? But it is working in the conventional manner, right? There is no digitalization. Just they are keeping some records in their systems, but it is not fully digitalized. Means the consumer interface is not there. That is in the conventional form. You will fill up the form and everything. But suppose they thought that to compete with their other peers, they want to digitalize the bank. So the bank may take this work request to some IT company. Suppose Infosys digitalize the whole bank chain throughout India. So that is a project. That is a project. Suppose the railway IRCTC, it is a project when it started. When it started, it was a project. Extension of an existing plant. As I said, it is not always that you will find that project is very new. Maybe in the existing plant, another project is going on because you need to expand it. Suppose you are diversifying to some other field and you want to expand your production or plant to a different product line, or you are simply expanding your capacity, volume. So you need extension of a plant, you need more assembly lines or production lines. So that itself is a project. Developing software solution for a new problem, of course, this also project. So by now, I hope in your mind you may have some examples of a project. Apart from these examples, I'll just like to hear from few of you. Can you give some example of a project apart from this, please? Any example apart from this? Yes. Can you give some project example? Or do you have any kind of project activity in your mind which you are in doubt that whether it will be a project or not? You can ask me that. We can discuss. No. Any example in your mind which you are in doubt? Let me pick up some name randomly. Okay, Sanu Kumar Singh, are you there? Sanu Kumar Singh, living, very good. That's good. Saket Ramsinghani. Saket Ramsinghani. No response from Saket. At least he is not living. He's a brave man. Saket, are you there? Okay. I'll try to remember these names at least. Sagar Kumar. Can you give some example of project? You are taking very good advantage of online class. Bhavya Hoda. Can you give some example? Bhavesh is living because he is near Bhavya. Good. Okay, so this is the state of affair. See what I am asking. I am just asking, can you give some example of project, because I have cited many examples. Anyone? who are sincere? Gaurav Kumar, are you present? Okay, no problem. I got your message. So these are some of the examples of projects, and there are a few more. Let me show you. Performing a heart transplant. Performing a heart transplant is a project. Of course, it may not look like, but yes, because it is satisfying all the characteristics of a project. Launching a satellite, developing a new product or service, developing and marketing a new medicine, implementing a change in the organization, of course it is repeated, designing a new transportation system, constructing building, developing business procedure or process, replacing an old manufacturing process by a new one, increasing production capacity by addition of new manufacturing processes. These are all examples of projects. So I request all of you, you may not answer me in the class, but if you have some idea, you can chat me also. I'll read it. So if you are shy to speak in a big class, so you can chat also if you have something in your mind about my questions. Okay, so these are the various examples of a project. Now see, project is something which we must understand at the beginning, that what exactly this project is talking about the economy, right? So it is a sort of index for the growth of the economy. When a company goes for a project, if it has a conducive economic status, at the same time it is finding some scope of growth, then a new project is come up, right? So in the recent time, you will find that many companies which are in normal practice used to have many projects are not having projects. The reason is very evident. So projects means growth. Projects are indices of growth of the economy. So when there is new project, it will create new jobs, new employments, economy will boom. So project in that sense is a kind of measure of the your health of your economy. In that sense, you have to see, be it infrastructure project or any IT project or educational, healthcare, in any sector, both production, service, or any supply chain project. So project indicates that growth is happening. If there is no project, then something is wrong. So companies tries to diversify their business into different domains. So they will take up new projects. That is a project. Suppose a company is dealing with, let us say, consumer goods. Now it is trying to diversify into some other field, like let us say healthcare or consumer electronics. So that will begin with new projects, right? So any kind of project is an indication that there is growth is happening, be it any project. So this slide, maybe the last slide for today's class. So by now we have understood what exactly is a project and how it can be differentiated from the terms like program, process, or production, right? Project is different. So in contrast to a project which has a defined beginning and end, a program is an ongoing operation. You might have seen some programs which are going on and on. right? It does not have a end time, right? So this cannot be considered as a project, because project must have a definite time frame, specified time frame, fixed schedule, right? If the upper limit for the time of that project is not defined, then maybe it is your personal project or some kind of program which is going on and on. So that is not a project in by definition. Process, as you know, is something which is happening continuously. As I said, suppose you are producing, let us say, sugar, or maybe cold drinks, or maybe vehicles. So this is a continuous process, and it is happening over many years, right? Using the same operation, same process, same material input. So it is not a project, it is process. So you have to differentiate between these things. So basically these programs or processes are repetitive cycles. They are routine affairs. They are routine jobs. You have to repeat that. It's not a temporary endeavor as a project is. Project is a temporary endeavor and it is very unique. It is once in a while you have to do it, and you are not going to repeat it also. So that makes it different. Okay, so programs normally provide products and or services to the public. Okay, so that is program. Program means something which continuously you are doing. Of course, there must be some output, otherwise why you are doing that? But it suppose a hospital, suppose a hospital is providing continuous service, right? It is not providing any product, but it is providing continuous service. So it's not a project. It may come under process or a program. And production, you all know, production is similar to process. So you are producing something continuously. It's not a project. So I hope the difference among these terms and the various characteristics of the project that we have discussed today will make it clear that what exactly is a project. I would have been happy that if you give some example of projects when I asked you or in the chat box. If you are not interested, then it's okay. So anyone going to give any project example apart from the examples I am giving? I have 2-3 minutes. That's why I'm. Yes, please.
So can we consider the Delhi Transportation Corporation project? They have made an electric bus.
Yes, why not? Why not?
Like from here we are seeing the example of designing a new transportation system. Then
Yes.
the Delhi Transportation Corporation is doing same thing. I guess from today they are launching the electric bus.
Okay. Okay, Chandrasekhar. See, what example you are giving is the right example for a new transportation system, as I have shown in the slides. See, once it will start operating, you have to understand, once that electric bus service will start operating, it will no longer become project. That you have to understand. That will become a kind of program or process, something like that. It's not a project. But until that, it is a project, right? So when it is started, it might have started in the brain of some policymaker that why not we have a system, transportation system using electric vehicles. Then step by step it will proceed as a planning stage, then budget allocation, then there may be a team which works behind that, they design it, then they procure the vehicles. So all these are coming under project. And once it is completed and it is handed over or maybe inaugurated by the any minister or chief guest, then onwards it works routinely. It becomes repetitive and it is regular affair. So that becomes a program or a process, not a project. But until that, what you said is definitely a project. Chandrasekhar Devnath, very good.
Yes.
Any other project example? Chandrasekhar, what is your branch?
So computer science.
Good, very good. और किसी के मन में है कोई प्रोजेक्ट एग्जाम्पल हु वांट्स टू शेयर? Yes, you should try this.
Sir, Cowin website.
Cowin website. Yes. So yes, that can be considered definitely. That is definitely an IT project, no doubt.
Yes.
There must be some budget. There must be consumption of human resource, and there must be a time frame that within which they launched it. But once it is becoming operational, right? Once it is becoming operational, then may not be it is fulfilling the conditions of a project, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that we have to understand. But before launching, whatever features it is showing, it is all within a project, IT project. Good. Who said this, by the way? Saurabh Kumar?
Sir.
Good.
Yes.
Good. So this way, if we'll interact in the class, at least I will remember your names and see there is no other way to know who is sincere and who is listening to me. So at least interact with me. Okay then, so if you have anything to ask or add, you can go on. Otherwise, I will end this meeting today.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.